Order.
Second.
Thank you. And the agenda. We want to discuss, first of all, the medical marijuana again.
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Fine, thank you. I think Mrs. Hahn had a couple of questions or concerns. Do you want to speak, or do you want us to elaborate, or do you want to ask any questions to Mr. Mattis?
No, without putting him too much on the spot, we do have a city manager here who has been in the DEA for over 20 years, and I really wanted to ask your own professional, from your professional experience, if you would speak at all to the concerns that you have, especially from a law enforcement standpoint, and what difference this makes in the sense of having it within the city limits of Steubenville, what this communicates to kids who are using marijuana right now. Can I ask that you would speak to that from that standpoint,
You've been asking.
and not the city manager perspective as much as your own experience?
I'll try to answer this in the best way that it's not my personal opinion coming out. The reason I brought this to council's attention, because we had placed a moratorium on the marijuana issue here. It was passed. Our governor signed it. It's coming. We can't stop this. So the only reason I brought it to council, I was approached by a vendor that was looking as a possible location that they would apply in their license application as a dispensary for the have it here in Steubenville, Ohio. This is really not the issue of should we have this here or not. It's going to be here. If it isn't in Steubenville, it'll be in another city within Jefferson County, wherever they can find the proper location. So I had to look at this. Is there any benefit of truly having this here? Well, we always keep hearing we have no jobs here. There's no new industries coming in here. This is an industry that's happening all around our country. I will tell you clearly, the voters were very adamant last November, and I could not believe the people that supported the recreational marijuana. And this isn't about, do I believe in that or not believe? This is about the medical issue. It's been proven. If someone's terminally ill, and they can take a tablet, or they can vaporize using the plant, and it helps them, who am I to question that? My only question that I have is don't go drive a vehicle, because now you bring yourself into the lives of someone else. What you do in your own home, and you're a terminally ill person, or someone that suffers from glaucoma, these are all things that they say this helps with. Now I can clearly tell you right now, after 30-some years in the business of putting people in jail for the sale of marijuana, the sale of pills, the sale of heroin, there is more danger in the opioid crisis we face today than we have ever faced with marijuana. What made marijuana bad, it was a gateway drug that had users go into other drugs. That's a proven fact. I've talked to thousands of people that have smoked marijuana and have gone on to heroin, other opiates, whatever it took. And I've also talked to people, all they ever did was smoke marijuana. But it affects your work productivity, it affects a lot of other things, your personal health. The doctors, the scientists have proven there's more carcinogens that go into your system smoking marijuana than that of tobacco. And we already know what tobacco does. So this isn't really the issue that I brought to council. I needed what your thoughts were. Do we want the possibility of 5 to 25 jobs, depending on the size and the amount of patients that come in, that would indicate that here in Steubenville? And you have the voice of your constituents to deal with. I brought this here because before that company can make application for a permit to dispense, they must put in that application where they're going to have that, and they own the property. So that's why I brought it this early. Right now, Pennsylvania is applying. They won't see anything there till November, December, and you won't see anything here till into 18. But this is why I brought that here. So, I mean, yes, sir, Mr. Villamagna.
Jim, my question to you is, our action tonight will not, we will take no action if we want, is that correct?
You have to do anything. This is what could happen though. If council doesn't take any action either way, and a vendor comes in here and he buys a property so he can submit it on his application, and then you change your mind, you have now caused a prospective company that was, I guess, basically, if you want to call it on good faith, they're anticipating where they're going to come. That's all that's created. I mean, this is a decision that can be made either today, next week, which direction you want to go.
Well, that's my second question is, Costa, what action do we have to take if we don't oppose it, and what action do we have to take if we do oppose it?
You have some options. Under the statute, you may ban the dispensaries, you can limit the dispensaries, and you can zone the dispensaries. So I would recommend, if council is inclined as a policy matter to do one of those things, I believe you should take the action sooner than later, so that a potential dispensary knows that in Steubenville there's going to be a limit of 3 dispensaries, and that we're going to zone it as we do maybe a pharmacy, and you can't have it within 500 feet of the school, so on and so forth. But I would say set the policy sooner than later, so we don't have the issue that Mr. Mandelanis just raised, that someone comes in, buys a piece of property, puts an application, and now we are competing now with a race to the legislation, and that creates a legal issue that we don't want. So council should, as a whole, determine what policy decision they want to take. You don't have to take anything, and it will come if the application is made, it's approved through the state. I don't know that whole process, but we can adopt whatever we would think is appropriate, but I would do it sooner than later.
And the other thing too, there is no guarantee that one, they will get their application as per a dispensary, or number 2, that they will find a place here. They could find something different in Toronto, Mingo, somewhere else in Jefferson County. But I wanted you to know up front, this is what they were looking at, and to make sure that council was aware of it, and we go from there. That's all. Thank you. Did I answer what you needed, Ms. Vaughn?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I guess, my opinion, I got over 40 years in law enforcement, and it's legalized in the state of Ohio for medical purposes. I was going through the list of diseases that it treats and some of the restrictions, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce some of those names, but I would say that we're not going to be able to stop it coming here to begin with. And what odds that we have coming to Steubenville, I think are slim and none to begin with. I think it's going to go somewhere on the outskirts of the whatever action that we have to take to clear that up, and then have costs to draw up what needs to be done. That would be my opinion. I don't know about my colleagues, but I'm of the opinion that it's here, and it's no. We got pharmacies here, Oxycontin, Valium, Percocets, everything that's here, and people still. I don't want to be there. Everything's going to be abused. There's no question about it. I mean, I've been abusing food my whole life. You know what I mean? So it's going to get abused, and then we know it is just the same as Oxycontin did, and heroin, and every drug there is. But I think it's here. That's my opinion. That's all I have to say about it.
Well, just quickly, this is for Chris, if they were to open one here, it would have to go into an area zone for commercial retail business, correct?
That's
Can't go
correct.
into a housing area, for example.
Pharmacies.
Yeah, that's correct. And as our code reads now, it would be no different than a pharmacy which distributes prescription medication.
So the only zoning, if we wanted to do something like, if we wanted to restrict it to an industrial area, for example, that we could do, would be, as of today, go anywhere retail is, right?
That's correct.
Subject to the laws of the state of Ohio, which prohibits it from being located within 500 feet of a school, church, public library, public playground, or public park.
Or you could also limit it, for example, to certain retail districts, for example, limit it to the central business district or the B2 district, which is along Sunset, and exclude it from some of the other commercial districts, like the neighborhood commercial, or the B3, which is the area around the mall. So that there are some options there.
Yes, sir, Mr. Di Loretto.
Okay, I have mixed emotions on this, and usually I'm in the minority. There's a lot of pros if it's distributed by the doctors and the hospitals, and the patient only gets it for the sick people. But you know as well as I know, it's going to be all over the community. It's going to be in the schools, it's going to be on the roads, someone's going to get killed. Police department's going to have to leave them go. What criteria are you going to say, well, he has too much marijuana in his system, or he doesn't have enough, I'm a sick person. They don't want up the medicine cabinet, all over the city. Be in the high schools, you can't discipline me, I'm sick. I know people need it, and if it's used right, it's okay, but you know in this day and age, it's the almighty buck. Somebody's going to make a big buck. It's going to be the growers, and it'll probably be the sellers. We're going to have jobs. Yeah, we'll have 10, 15 jobs. I'm sure they'll be paying hospitalization, benefits, pensions, and all the other high wages. They'll probably be low-paying jobs. My estimation, all the buyers and sellers are going to make the money. To me, my own personal opinion, I know the die is cast, but this country's going downhill. This is just another step. We're like the Roman Empire. We're destroying ourselves. Thank you.
Can I ask one more question? Then, just to be clear on this, the same DUI laws apply to whether you have marijuana in your system as the alcohol, right?
Yes.
So you're not going to be going to school drunk if you're over whatever, or driving. In other words, we treat it like any other prescription medication as well. It's
And you
the
have
same
to
thing.
have a state-issued
Right,
card,
right.
a doctor's prescription
Right,
for it.
right.
And if you're operating a vehicle or machinery that you could be charged for OVI, it would be the same thing already.
Right. And workers' compensation won't work because you're not covered if you're.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
I handed out a little support information. You can find thousands of doctors for medical marijuana. You can find thousands of doctors against it. The sheet I handed out, it's got 17 MDs and PhDs who support medical marijuana. There are also other individuals and organizations that have voiced support on that handout. In my research, there is no doubt medical marijuana can help with pain suffered by cancer patients, AIDS patients, and the wasting center associated with it, people who suffer from glaucoma, seizures, I mean, the list of ailments goes on. I know if I had a family member suffering from a terminal illness, I would want it available to them that would help ease their pain. If we all take the same medications, it's not going to affect us all the same way. It may help others, it may have side effect on others, you can't really tell. This holds the same for medical marijuana. It will affect everybody in different ways. So you always hear politicians say, I'm going to create jobs. So we actually have a chance to create jobs by allowing this dispensary and add to our tax revenue. I feel like saying no to this dispensary is in effect saying no to jobs. So as long as it's legal, I really don't have a problem with what people do for a living.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to just make a few comments. I gave out a 5-page handout last week of a lot of data having to do with the dangers that I think are associated with it. I know there's a promise of jobs, but there have been promises of jobs before for certain businesses that would bring in 30, 40 jobs that maybe brought in 10. We don't even know if our people will be the ones hired. People could be hired from outside our area. We don't know if it will be built here. If it's not built here, we're not collecting the dollars unless they live in the city. So there's no guarantee of actual jobs in the city of Steubenville with this. One of the highest, or one of the difficulties we have, we approved 9 positions in one of our departments, and we have 11 applicants, only 5 cleared the background check and the drug check. So we already know we have a history right now in our area of testing positive for drugs. And I don't want to give a veneer to marijuana as if because some forms are assisting some circumstances that somehow or another it doesn't really matter. And that's the impression that I think we will give to younger people by allowing this. I'm all for the free market, but not when it's not responsible for the common good. And I really believe that there is great danger in just buying into something because there's some money that may come from it. I think that's a weaker reason to consider something. When you look at the statistics in areas where they've had marijuana on sale for a time, we know there's increase in hospitalizations having to do with children who get into it. I mean, children get into medicine cabinets. They just tend to do that. And even though the Ohio legislation says that the edibles are not supposed to look attractive to children, it's certainly a possibility they're going to experiment on what's available around them. And the DUIs have gone up significantly in the states where it's been legalized. And in fact, there are many states that if they test for certain substances and those substances are found in their system, they don't even bother testing for marijuana. So they don't even know the added influence that that is. The idea behind the plant itself as a medicine is weak. It has a lot of potential. And I'm for research and for finding out ways that it can be effective. As you said, it is coming to the area. People will be able to get it. I just personally don't want to be the one who casts a vote for it to be in Steubenville. We have a problem or a challenge with our image, and we've been kind of little Chicago in different ways through prohibition with alcohol, with prostitution, with gambling, and it's continued on with the drugs that come from Chicago. And I just, in doing the hard work of actually reaching out to companies and wanting to convince the oil and gas industry to think about bringing field offices here, I really wanted to present something different. And I don't think one dispensary is going to totally color our image, but I can see people saying, I don't want to bring a business to a town that's going to have this available, especially when so many jobs were promised to people. And if you remember reading the newspaper reports, the reason a lot of our people didn't get hired was they tested positive for drugs. So we want to present a different image. I think it's harder work to go out and try to get the jobs to come here, and I am working on that. And so for me, that's really not a serious reason that there might be 5 to 20 jobs, might be good paying, might be in Steubenville, and so at this point, I don't want to see it. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Well, I'll say mine. We're not here to debate whether it should be legal or illegal. That was already taken care of by a Republican governor, a Republican-dominated legislature. So a lot of the arguments are kind of getting back to whether it should be legal or not. I mean, as Eric stated, there's articles saying it's good, there's articles stating it's bad. There's no massive research that has been done, just small researches, but no large scale. So it is legal. Actually, the state senator that proposed the bill, he happens to be a physician. And it passed with bipartisan support, which it's hard to get anything past bipartisan anymore. So I don't want to get into whether it should be legal or isn't. It is legal in Ohio. It is legal in like 29 other states plus the District of Columbia for medical marijuana. So then the question that comes in my mind is, well, we have a legal business that provides a drug which some people do benefit from it. I mean, if you are going to go operate equipment, whether you're on marijuana, medical marijuana, alcohol, Percocets, you know, you're warned up front not to do that. I mean, every drug has the same warning. Don't operate heavy machinery. Alcohol has the same warning. because it will impair your, but some of these people that are, or most of the people that are gonna benefit from it, they're not working anyway. The guy with ALS, he's not working. He's just trying to make his life a little bit easier as he goes towards the end of his life. And the same with, if you look at this, at ALS, multiple sclerosis, cancer, fibromyalgia, glaucoma, seizures, a bunch of, and are there other drugs? Yeah, there may be other drugs, but like not every drug works for everybody. I mean, Oxycontin, Percocets, Demerol, they're all basically the same drug. But yet manufacturers keep producing other drugs because they have a different take on it. It might have a little bit different impact. So for me, it comes to a matter of, do I want to stop a business from coming to Steubenville? And Ms. Hahn's right in that if they don't locate in Steubenville, then we'd only get revenue if, we may not get any revenue, but we'd only get revenue if their employees work there. And if it locates in Toronto, we're not getting any revenue because of the way it's credited. So if we say no, that's not going to stop it from going into Cross Creek Township or Toronto or Mingo. But it is going to send an image that you have a legal business that you're saying no. I thought we want to be a pro-business community. So I think as a pro-business community, I'm for any legal business, and it's legal. The state passed it. And it does benefit some people, but I don't even want to get into who benefits and who it doesn't, because that's really back to the question of, it should be legal or not legal? So I'm for doing nothing because we already have the moratorium that's passed, and I see there's nothing for us really to do. The state already limits where you can put one. I read them earlier tonight. So if you look at that, with all the churches we have and all the parks we have, you're not going to be put it in so many places. But so that's where I come down on it.
Okay, I got it. The only thing, the key word is medical marijuana. And it's going to be dispensed through it's going to be like a pharmacy, if that's how I'm looking at this. I mean, so it's not you're going to go up and you're going to say, hey, Joe, I need a dime bag of weed. And you're going to go up there and you're going to get a prescription. You're going to get your medical marijuana. I was against this in the very beginning, but as Mr. Timmons said a couple weeks ago in an interview, he said, who am I to stop someone who medically needs this marijuana? And like Mike had just brought up, ALS, or, and I would never wish that upon anybody to have that, those diseases, or whatever, But if this is the relief, and you had Mrs. Sweeney talk here one night, if you remember, her husband's in so much pain, and smokes a joint out in the backyard. If that's the relief for this guy, and we know, he's in so much pain, so be it. And like I said, it's medical marijuana. As long as we don't start selling cookies and brownies and everything laced with that, and I don't think you're going to see that, because I think Mr. Mavromatis will put a stop to it. We'll have the police chief and every police officer in town on it. So I really think, who are we to say, to stop it? So I just, like I said again, the key word is medical marijuana, and I don't think it's something that the town drug dealers are going to be selling. They may get their hands on it somehow. I don't know, but it's going to be dispensary. So.
Just as a follow-up, what you said, it's heavily regulated by the State Board of Pharmacy, by the Department of Commerce. Every physician, every time they write a script, it goes into the data bank just like everybody else.
It's like Oxycontin,
right? And everything can be abused, like Bob said earlier. So there are doctors that'll write prescriptions for whatever. I mean, and I'm not naive to think medical marijuana won't be abused to some extent. But hopefully that doctor gets caught when all of a sudden he's writing all these massive prescriptions. I mean, because it's going to be tracked and it's going to be monitored.
And the state of Ohio knows we have an opioid crisis, and they're tracking that. The government even knows that. So I think that we would really watch this also. I hope the governor and his people would watch how this is being tracked and taken care of. So
one other thing, Willie, I mean, it's not just Steubenville going to get a dispensary and nobody else in the state, so we're a black eye for having it. There's going to be 90 dispensaries throughout the whole state. So and then soon there's going to be one in Weirton, because West Virginia's passed medical marijuana and Pennsylvania's passed medical marijuana. So it's going to be everywhere. So it's not like, oh, Steubenville's got a black eye because they have medical marijuana. Steubenville's going to be one of many cities, and if we get one, it's going to be one of many cities in the state of Ohio that have medical marijuana, as well as the country. So.
Okay, well, I agree with you guys. I mean, I think you said, you have anything, Mayor? You want-
I have nothing, but
Okay.
obviously the consensus is the majority members of council are going to continue the course that we're on at the present time.
Yes.
The moratorium has expired, so this is now allowing them to apply through the city manager, through the state of Ohio for areas. The only thing I would ask the city council monitor it through our planning office, Mr. Petrozzi's office, and if we ever see a need to limit rather than just in the where pharmacists are allowed, then we can bring in legislation on zoning of it, of the marijuana.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay. Any other questions on this? Okay. All right. Second, we had, our third item on the list. We had a couple of fires this weekend, and Mrs. Holland had called me. Said that there were a couple of fire hydrants out. I know we had a replacement program going on a couple of years ago. That kind of, I don't know how it's going, or I know the chief, he has his men go out, he opens them, he knows which ones need to be fixed. I think we've replaced, I can't remember how many, maybe, well, Chuck's here too, okay. So Chuck and the chief probably could tell us how many fire hydrants we had replaced. But I think Mrs. Holland would like to maybe ask some questions. You want to speak first, and then? Okay, all right. Thank you, Chuck.
As far as the fire hydrants are concerned, yeah, we've gone ahead and replaced, I think, around 2025 in the first year. If I remember right, I don't have the information, unfortunately, and busy investigating everything that's on the folks' minds. So I don't have that information readily available. I apologize for that. But anyhow, what it boils down to is we did have a goal of 20. Unfortunately, between manpower issues mainly, and then basically equipment issues now this year, it's kind of hindered our ability to get everything done that we would like to do. In addition to not enough people to just simply apply to the jobs that we have out there. But we are trying to go ahead and still continue to replace fire hydrants as quickly as we can, just we're not able to go ahead and meet that objective due to the constraints we've been discussing. Currently, as it stands, we have no dump trucks outside of what we're borrowing, and essentially trying to get that hindered up. So, competing interests, to say the least. That said, hopefully once we get everything all back on course, maybe go ahead and get some additional personnel, we can go ahead and actually pick up that pace. Sorry?
Or contracted out.
Whatever is best in terms of that aspect. Ultimately, that of course will cost you a lot more money. But anyhow, that's pretty much where we're at on that end. We do have fire hydrants in stock. We have replaced them as we found, as far as the worst case scenarios, so forth, so on. We do go ahead and coordinate with the fire department in terms of prioritizing those aspects to make sure that we are getting the most vulnerable areas taken care of course.
Okay, I think the chief wants to add something to that.
I'll give a little report too. I wanted to talk before Chuck because I was going to lay out what happened and we can go into all of that. Yeah, it was 2 or 3 years ago. We assisted the water department. We went out and checked pretty much every hydrant in the city except for the one neighborhood. They were doing a water line replacement project. I think it was Parkdale, and they put a bunch of new hydrants in there. And then we came up with a list of hydrants that either needed repaired or replaced. Chuck, as he said, they set a goal of 20, right around 20 a year they wanted to replace. And usually at the beginning of the year, Chuck would ask me to give him a priority of 10. If I had 10 to replace, which ones would they be? And we mapped them out, and areas where there was clusters, I said this area needs some fixed here. In the course of our operations, if we run into a hydrant that doesn't work, our dispatchers either calls the filtration plant and reports it, or I email Chuck. So I email Chuck, he gets the email, and he puts it on his list. Just to touch base on what happened over the weekend, we had a pretty large structure on North 4th Street caught on fire. When our crews arrived, it was 1 o'clock in the morning, and it was fully involved. Pretty large fire. I was out of town. I saw some videos on Facebook. It was a pretty impressive fire. Our crews went to that fire. I think all told, we used 3 or 4 hydrants down there. One of the hydrants was leaking, but we floated all night long. So all 4 hydrants that we used on 4th Street worked. At 4 o'clock in the morning, we got a report of another fire up on Spencer, which is in the south end up on the hill. As our crews were going to that, it was fully involved too. When they went by on Lincoln Avenue, they just saw a big ball of fire up there. They got to the end of the road up there. Aside from the fire, there's a bunch of power lines on the ground too. So they had to wait till our AEP got there to turn off the power because the power lines were popping all over the ground. And there was a hydrant right next to the house. That hydrant, they turned the hydrant and it just kept turning. So that one, the stem broke. I think the stem broke when they were trying to open it. Then there was a couple other hydrants up there they opened and the pressure was down. It was literally just like dripping out. So after that, we reported those to the water department. And also while we were up there, we had 3 trucks. We used the water that was on our trucks to try to wet down the grassy areas. There was a garage there. We tried to keep that from being involved with fire. And I think when the building finally fell in on itself, they were a little more comfortable with that garage. So, and Spencer's a tough road to get up and down. We had to back all the trucks out, most of them. And so we reported all our stuff to the water department, and Chuck did some research there this morning. And other than that, basically, I'll leave that with you. Basically, I reported those issues to him. Any questions?
Yeah, Chief. There was only 2 fire hydrants around, sir.
There was only one that was actually broke. We tried 2 other ones. There's 3 at the top, and 2 down. 1 actually down at the bottom, and 1 across Wilson. There's only 3 up there.
Only 3 up there.
Yeah, only 3 up there. 1 was broke, and 2 had low pressure.
How many homes are up there?
Huh?
How many homes are up in there?
About a dozen.
When I drove up there yesterday morning, there's the home at the end that burned. Right before you get there, there's a cluster of homes on the right. And then right at the bottom on the left, there's some homes.
That's done by steel plate and glass?
Yeah, you go up Wilson,
Yeah.
turn left.
Yeah.
Actually, what's that?
How many are occupied? You know?
No, I'm not sure. Chris, do you know?
Probably 7 of them.
Okay, I was gonna ask you because I know you know that area.
So
Yeah.
you had to run a line from the bottom?
Yeah, and by that time, the home was fully involved when we got there. They tried to run a line from all the way to the
There's only
bottom.
3 on sets.
3 up at the top. Something came up when you were asking that question. Oh, okay. Actually, in all of our map books, Potter's the road that comes off of Wilson. Potter comes off of Wilson, and where I think Merriman comes in is where technically it's Spencer. But the street sign down at Wilson says Spencer. So I don't know when or where that got changed, but it's actually Potter and Spencer.
It's Potter, I remember Potter.
I remember Potter
Yeah.
when I was a kid.
Potter's technically the part that connects to Wilson.
The unimproved.
That's the alley.
Then it turns into Spencer. But now it's just, the street sign says Spencer. But no, so everything that happened, our guys did a good job on 4th Street. Our guys did what they could up on Spencer. Both houses were fully involved. Luckily on 4th Street, we kept it from the exposure. Luckily on Spencer, there were no exposures. But, and both are under investigation. Our inspectors are trying to find videos. They're trying to talk to witnesses. They're trying to do what they can. But the hard part is everything burnt to the ground. So we're doing what we can. But I reported all our issues to Chuck, and he took it from there.
How many, one thing, how many trucks showed up? your trucks?
All we got.
Okay, so how many gallons of water can we carry on a truck is what I'm getting at?
Some of them carry 750, some of them carry 500. Like the ladder truck carries less because it has a smaller tank.
Okay.
Most of our engines carry 750. So, which is, 750 is about a 1 or 2 room fire that you can put out without a hydrant. So we dumped like 3 tanks of water on the one that was fully involved.
You realize the truck.
Yeah. we just
And you already used all the water down below, probably down on 4th Street. So you guys went back, filled up the water again,
Well,
and then,
Chuck can
That's
talk about
Adams
that.
Street, and explain that to us, Chuck.
Okay, basically what you had, as far as 4th Street, we had the hydrant on 4th and Ross. It actually ended up, during while they were using it, it split at the base. And essentially, they were still able to use that hydrant, was still putting out a significant amount of water, but the split was also putting out a lot of water in and of itself, shooting about 15 feet when they were pumping across the road. So the thing is, it was a significant leak coming out of that thing. Water department staff was on site to go ahead and try and minimize that leak, which they apparently did, as I understand. The other hydrants in the area, they functioned as they should, as far as things are concerned. When it comes to Spencer, I went up, checked everything out, and those hydrants are working properly, except for the one at the end that basically, he said when they opened it, apparently just snapped. As far as that's concerned, and of course, we'll get that addressed. The other remaining hydrants, and there are a grand total of 3 all the way up and down that roadway, but like you said, there's only 3 grand total on the top, but you have a 4th one as you're coming up. And essentially, if you were to tie into that one, or even on the one on Wilson down there at the intersection, that would, if you ran that hose all the way up, you'd still end up with the same pressure situation. Pressure is dependent upon height. It's as simple as that. So essentially, that's where we stand at. All those hydrants are properly functioning at this time. Basically, just a lot of water being drawn over on 4th Street.
That's it. One more question about hydrants. I know I talked to you about the one on Stratford. You're aware of that one on Stratford?
Yeah, the one the truck ran over.
Yeah, and you said that they looked at it and it was working. Yes. But I looked at it, and my knowledge is right there. There's a stem that goes down into that fire hydrant. Is that correct? You turn that nut, you hook the hose up, turn that nut, and then the water comes out. So if that is bent, there's no way that rod's going to turn, correct?
Yeah, I'm not sure on that one. All I know is you have to turn the
I'm going based off of what my staff had investigated.
And
It is on the list to be fixed. though.
Yes.
well, here's my next question for fire hydrant is, the property owner, a tractor trailer ran over that fire hydrant and smacked it and drove it into the ground. How it didn't break off, I still have no idea how that happened, but it didn't. So, did we put a claim in, because the homeowners, the property was damaged, or the insurance company took care of their damages. Did we file a claim, who would file a claim, and did we file a claim for recovery?
The homeowner filed a claim
For their property,
for their property with the truck that ran it over.
right, and they were paid already,
Okay.
but the fire hydrant's still not repaired. And my question is, did we file the claim
get the fire hydrant repaired.
to get it repaired? That's Stratford and Kingston, and also the fire hydrant going towards Buena Vista is tagged out of service. So the next line would be down to Buena Vista that way. And then the other line going back towards the connector is about 3/4 down. Now, fire department's aware that one is, because it's tagged out, so they know. The insurance company we should have contacted them. I hope we did. Maybe we did. Maybe I.
Well, was there, you gotta find, was there a police report made?
Yeah.
Usually when they got insurance company information on that, so that's something we can follow.
We can check into that, because, I mean, again, there's a lot of houses in there within,
Mr. Dolak always calls me whenever there's damage to city properties, and if there's an accident report that we can trace to it. I believe he files the claim.
oh, you know what I'm talking about then?
Yeah,
Okay.
because he's called numerous times about guardrails, fire hydrants,
Okay.
because I know there's one up on, maybe it's on Oregon, something was damaged, and there was never an accident report done on it.
Because I don't want us to get stuck.
Yeah, no, whatever we can put it on somebody that's their
Okay.
fault.
All right. Thanks, guys.
I have a quick question for Chuck. Would there be any way to link, probably not, link the high pressure system into the low pressure system so that when it drops below a certain point, it could feed a little bit of water into that so we don't have this? Because I do understand the difference between the two systems. I mean, is there a way to create a valve that would automatically feed it so that it wouldn't drop below, let's say, 40 pounds or whatever, so you could feed the lines?
At that point in time, the problem is once you open up a valve in a high-pressure system, you're now going ahead and feeding a low-pressure system.
I know, yeah.
At a pressure it simply can't handle. Matter of fact, it's my understanding, prior to my tenure, they had actually tried something similar to that with a lay-bell system, feed to downtown on a temporary basis, if you will. Ended up with 15 water line breaks, second attempt ended up with 9.
Right.
It's definitely not something you want to do because that system is designed to do something entirely different.
Yeah, I understand that. So basically, if we have two fires, one of the two is going to go.
I mean, at this juncture, we're looking at other alternatives. I believe we actually have a firm one in place as far as things are concerned, based on what we've learned. Historically, we've never had this issue.
Okay.
As far as based on the questions I've asked of the staff prior to my tenure.
Right.
But now we see a chink in the armor, and basically we do have a means of being able to address it on a temporary basis, and then we're looking at a long term, which will bring a cost back.
I know Ms. Todd has some questions.
Huge. How, do we make a commitment to testing every single fire hydrant every year? Do we have an annual inspection?
As far as an annual inspection, no, no. There's basically, we simply don't have the manpower to be able to pull it off. Between line breaks and all the basic restoration, things of that nature.
Is there any possibility, Chief Capaldi, that the firemen can assist with this? Because I'm thinking this is essential equipment. They show up, they're there, the trucks are there, they're ready to engage, and I cannot imagine the frustration of not being able to pull that water and be able to make a difference with that.
Yes, and the last time this was done, we did assist. We assisted water, they assisted us. It is something we can assist with, and I'm more than glad to work with Chuck and assist them. Our guys are more than willing to too, because they know how important it is too.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do.
Now, we can't repair them or replace them, we can
Right.
test them.
Right, I'm just thinking, even if you've done the testing, then his department just focuses on the repairs and the replace where necessary. Yeah.
But that's another thing, the testing. The one thing we found, and that's why we work with the water department, every time you open up a hydrant for anything, someone's water turns dirty. And whether you're testing hydrants or not, they still don't like their water dirty. So we get a lot of complaints. And we try to put it out in the newspaper. We try to put it out. The last time we did it, we did press releases with News 9, Herald Star, Channel 7. But inevitably, someone always complains because why are you making my water brown? But we try to put it out early enough, and that's why we work with Chuck, because he's the one that gets all those calls.
Yeah.
So, but
And that
it will be done.
That feeds into what Jim's looking into in terms of having a one-call
notification
notice,
system.
being able to use people's cell phones to do that. Then we can just say in these areas, this is where we're going to focus the tech, because really, if they understand that's the purpose, I don't know anybody who would say they don't want their hydrant tested because it might produce some groundwater. Right? I think
Yeah.
it's just too important. Is it possible until to either have a water truck that has, I mean, do you have water trucks that have the capability of bringing water to a fire?
Yes, there is that option. We have what's called a tanker task force in Jefferson County. If we get into an area where we need a water supply, we've used them before. Like sometimes in the winter, if stuff freezes, we have used them. And if there was a need for them, we would call them. But at the point in time where we were having trouble with that water, it was already, pretty much the result was already there. So we just filled up the trucks and made sure we protected the surrounding like garage but on a larger fire, we could call in the tanker task force. Now it takes time for them to get here. But I mean, they get there pretty quick and they can set up a tank and we pump water out of the tank into the trucks. So that is available.
So I would love to encourage us to move in this direction of utilizing the firemen. Because at this point, I don't know how much more money we can, put into more salaries, but there's nothing more important we do here than preserve human life and the secondary.
Chief, just so the public knows, I mean, what happened up there has no bearing on safety. That structure was a done deal.
Unfortunately, water quicker probably won't save it. Like I said, we would have tried our hardest no matter what. Because they did show up right away and put a tank of water on it, and if it was a smaller fire, they would have put it out. But it was going too bad when they got there for 1 or 2 tanks of water to put it out.
I saw that same video you did. I mean,
Well, that was 4th Street.
oh, okay.
That video was 4th Street. Spencer Avenue was another one. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else, anyone else on that topic? Okay, well, then okay. Where are we at? All right, Chief McCarthy is here, and then we had some questions from the previous safety meeting. Chief, always.
I passed, everybody have one of these letters sent. I apologize, my secretary's on vacation, this is the best I could do. The first is the date, when the letter was sent, and the search warrant was done. The second name is the name of the landlord. Third is the address, and the last name is the name of the offender linked to this letter. If you look through, there's been no landlords sent letters twice. And if you look at the people who are linked to cause the letters, there's one gentleman, Mr. Hawkins Jr., he's listed twice, but it was, the search warrants were the same day. And he was linked to the 2 different houses at the same time. I think what you said, the other letters, I had 13 at a different time. Those were probably the other letters that I send out, such as the ones I sent to the 106 Club and the nuisance abatement as compared to these. So there's 2 types I send out. But that's my list.
So when you said that you always send a letter when there's a search warrant, is that nuisance abatement and not this particular one?
Right, this is the separate one. This is notification of a use nuisance, which uses 559 the ordinance. It deals specifically with the drug. The other one would be like if I have a complaint of noise or even litter to be sent, that's a different form. So there's 2 different forms. Then we get another ordinance for the multiple.
Well, it's the same ordinance, we just.
Yeah, but I use different, this is the severe one, this is the one that you get with the drugs. The other one is like the nuisance.
It's a criminal nuisance, I mean, how many police visits?
Exactly, the number of calls.
Yeah. Now, on the drug bust last week at Kendall in Pennsylvania, the news made it seem like the guy owned both places. Is that a landlord situation or was that a homeowner situation?
I'll have to check. The one I had from last week was Pennsylvania.
Okay. Now, we talked last week. I went on and researched Fairborn, which is, they copy Dayton also. And what I could find from Fairborn is if they have a drug bust, they make them vacate. And as long as they don't have a second drug bust in 12 months, they don't, as long as they vacate, they're fine. If they have that second bust in 12 months, then they have to appear before their board, and then Fairborn can possibly board that house up for a year.
That they would have, in our ordinance, I believe they'd have to post the bond for 300.
They don't have the bond.
Oh, we have the bond.
We have a bond.
Like on the form, 1302 Pennsylvania, I go on the website, $28,100. It has a fair market value, I get it off the Jefferson County auditor's website.
So 1302's got to post a bond?
No, but I tell them if they don't, on this
Oh, okay,
form,
I got you.
I put the number that the house is worth according to the website. That let them know that if they don't comply and evict, that's what they can be
If
subject
they
to.
don't, if they don't evict them, that's what you're going to do. All right. So I was trying to figure out how, I mean, Dayton, they appear to be the ones, now they're bigger than all the other towns that adopted it, so they're boarding up more. But if at some point in the gym, maybe Costa can call Dayton to get their protocol on what they're doing, just to share it with us. We don't, maybe we adopt it, maybe we don't, but because we modeled our law after Dayton. Now, I don't know if Dayton puts all their offenders on a database. So I don't know if somebody rents to somebody on that database and then they get busted, that's when they board them up. Don't know, but it's worth looking into just to see if there's anything we can tighten up or at all. But I appreciate you sending out these notices. And so if we get one that goes to the same address within a year, would that more than, I don't want to say, you can't say.
But they'd have to come before, they'd have to come before the board, and we could impose them posting the bond, which I'm not really sure what that is. They'd have to post a bond, maybe the city.
Well, that's the only thing, when Gary was drafting it, I wasn't real sure about why he put that in there, the bond part.
Yeah, it has to remain in effect for 365 days for them to be able to run it out. They have to post that bond. If they don't do any of it, then they could face criminal charges. If they refuse to reply or do anything, then that's failure refusal to comply with the order to abate public nuisances may result in criminal prosecution. The penalty for failing to abate a public nuisance is up to $500 in fines or up to 60 days in jail.
So, I mean, our intent, also, when we did this, our intent was to steal off the Dayton, because they've had some success, and even the cities around Dayton, Trotwood, and Fairborn, they adopted it, and they thought it was having some success. So, if maybe you could reach out to Dayton, and if there's anything we can do to tweak ours. But, I mean, I get that the first time, somebody, we just evict them. But if someone's renting to all these people on this list, like if the one guy shows up the same day, that doesn't count, but then maybe that one, that's somebody, maybe Dayton says, no, that's it, you can't rent to anybody for a year. And I'm not sure if Dayton has the bond, it might, because that's where Gary was kind of drafting it from. But like, I don't think Trotwood and Fairborn, which adopted, which modeled theirs after Dayton, I don't think they have the bond, and I'm not real sure what the purpose of the bond is. Because I thought if on the second time, instead of having a bond, you just say, you can't, we board it up for a year.
I'm not sure, I'll have to get back to you on that.
So if that's something, I know you're busy, but if that's something you could do, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Johnson, you asked about curfew violations. These are actual violations where a juvenile was cited. The way we do the we follow the ordinance, if you catch a juvenile the first time, verbally warn them, take them home. Then in our Steubenville system, we have William McCaffrey, age 16. There's a little comment. It says warned for curfew violation on 8/12/17. So those are not reflected because we don't keep track of them. But if William McCaffrey gets picked up in September, the dispatch, the officer will give you the names of all the juveniles involved, then he would be cited. I would be cited if I'm the chief.
Right.
But I mean, as you can see, it starts out, pardon me?
Look over 18.
Yeah, I wish I could. But you can see just by the dates, how they pick up they start to pick up in June and July. There was really a flood, and in August.
So for the people we warned, can you give us an idea, is that a lot, is it a few?
I really couldn't tell you. I mean, I'd have to go through each and every report.
I just thought you might have an idea. I don't know if you guys have meetings and you talk about what's going on, but, well, thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
No, thank you, Chief. Nothing. I have nothing else. I know we have, the mayor was telling me 2 minutes. Okay, we'll make this pretty quick. Mr. Villamagna asked for item number 6. Maybe we can bring that up later on in the meeting tonight, if you want to do that. And the 5th one, as you know, Judge Massio told us that we were like really not in compliance with the security, the court security committee. As we said, there were 16 items that needed to be addressed, with 5 of them we know for sure said shall. We need to appoint 5 committee members. With that being said, council needs to appoint 2. I would like to, I want to bring up Bob Villamagna, being a former police officer. But if anybody else has any other someone they would like to appoint, I think if you were here at the one meeting, I said something to a certain person. I think someone might be adding him to that list.
Not for us.
No, I think his son might do that.
Well, then we can't pick.
I'm going to talk to the judge and see, and then we'll need a second person. So if anybody has anyone that they would like to, but I would like to have Bob as our appointee, and our second would be if anybody would like to send a letter or send me a name, we can go over it. Okay, or if one of you council members want to go there too, that's fine by me. Kimberly, if you want, or Eric, or Scott, or anybody, Tom, Mike, just let me know. It'll be fine. Eric, you want to go there?
One member of council is sufficient.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking. One member, and then we get someone
Mr.
else.
Villamagna can report back to council.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
I had mentioned to you, Mr. Paul, that it has to be a diverse committee.
Right.
And for some reason, I keep going back to, I think we need an IT type of a person, or at least with a background, especially when we're talking about video arrangements, using the court system and all, might be good on that committee also, especially with the security in the halls, the cameras and all.
Help me with that person. Help me with that person. Give me a name or something. Okay, I mean, we don't have Draga here anymore. We don't have Martin DeVeria. So, I mean, I know we have Roland Fletcher, but he's not an employee of the city, is what I'm getting at.
I'll be happy to talk to him.
Okay.
Because his name comes to mind. He's a resident, but Mr. Benny is the IT person in the county and has a lot of knowledge.
If you want to do that, that's
security
fine.
systems.
Send me his name, please. That'd be good. Thank you, Ronnie. And that's a good point. You bring up a good point. Okay, and with that being said, it is 7:31. I know Mr. Loretto has to run out the door. I make the motion we adjourn. Safety and Health Committee meeting. Thank you, thank you.
The Pledge of Allegiance.
Amen.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. Timmons?
Here.
Mr. Villamagna?
Here.
Mr. Filaretta?
Here.
Mr. Dressel?
Here.
Mrs. Hahn? Here. Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Mr. Paul?
Here.
All members of council are here and accounted for. Mrs. Hahn.
Yes, I move that we approve the minutes of August 29th, 2017 as written.
Second.
It's been regularly moved and seconded that we approve the minutes of August 29th, 2017 as presented. Roll call.
Mr. Timmons?
Aye.
Mr. Villamagna?
Aye.
Mr. Filaretta?
Aye.
Mr. Dressel?
Aye.
Mrs. Hahn?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Paul?
Aye.
So moved, minutes accepted. Petitions and communications, Madam Clerk.
Nothing this evening.
We now move into the ordinance before City Council this evening, and it's ordinance number 2017-67 by the Service Committee. Mr. Dioreto, Mr. Johnson, Mrs. Hines for its first reading.
Ordinance number 2017-67. An ordinance authorizing the city manager to advertise for bids in accordance with law for the purchase of necessary supplies for the use in the service department, and to provide for a contract for the purchase of said materials for the year 2018. Authorizing the right to reject any and all bids, authorizing entering into a contract and payment thereof.
heard the first reading of ordinance number 2017-67. The second reading will be scheduled for next Tuesday, September 12th. Third reading on September 19th. If adopted by City Council, effective date of this ordinance will be October 20th. That will conclude the ordinance before City Council this evening. We will now move into the report of committees, and we'll start off with Mr. Timmons.
Nothing to see.
Thank you, Mr. Timmons. Mr. Bill Magna?
Yes, Mayor. I have two things. First thing is Economic Development Committee meeting will be next week, next Tuesday at 6 o'clock. And hopefully during that meeting, I'll have good news with a new business coming to town and taking up some property. So, and it looks pretty positive. So I don't want to say anything. He doesn't want it announced until next Tuesday. So, but it looks very promising, and it's something. And that's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Bill Magna.
Said two things.
Yeah, well,
Cover this.
yeah, Economic Development Committee meeting, and then that celebration that the mayor likes to say, celebration. Oh, yeah, and maybe we can address that now. The other thing is updates. Have we got any quotes like or anything from,
We're waiting for bids on one from the security. I need to come to council with the total amount. So that, furniture, security issues. It has been decided by our IT people that Captain Anderson will stay. When the move happens, he'll move into the chief's office because of what IT says it's cost to us to keep him there. It's a larger room, but we have to still keep the equipment over there for keeping it cool. And then we got to move what's left in the new location. That's a state hookup there. We've got to remove that and put our own hookup there. But once I get all this, I need to come to council and say, listen, this is what it's going to cost us. This is what's here.
Right.
Make a decision who we go.
now, I have a question too, that we have a contract with JV Green Team, that's correct?
We do.
Do we have an idea when that expires or anything?
No, but I have a meeting this Thursday. I can find out. Now, I already brought this up based on several of your, about another pickup. And I'm going to bring it at the meeting this Thursday. We'd like to have another pickup.
No, I mean, I'm talking about the building contract.
Oh,
Ready
okay.
from us. Ready from
Right,
us.
okay. I'll have to see exactly.
I'd like to get the details to
Okay.
that, because there's a rumor in the community that they are planning on building their own facility someplace.
Well, I can put your rumor in these because I go to the meetings. They're looking, and I've had flat asked them, if they go either to build or buy an existing building, they will be moving out of here.
Okay.
Because I needed to know that. So that's a fact. They are looking, but they haven't signed anything yet. Tomorrow is part of the meeting, is why it's going to be out there off of 43. They're looking at some other property.
I just want to make sure that we don't get into a contract with them, maybe month by month or whatever we have to do if they're going to leave, okay? And, because, correct me if I'm wrong, well, chief, that building where JV Green Team was the fire department, am I right or wrong?
Yes.
I remember that, okay. And where you're at was actually the police department?
Yes.
Is that correct? Which would be really a lot of room, would be ample room for everybody involved if we could go back to that situation.
Well, where I am now is the police chief, the secretary, and juvenile.
Right.
And then JV Green Team office was the fire department.
Right.
Me, the two inspectors, mechanic, and the secretary.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I remember, I was on the tail end.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, that's what I wanted to clear up.
Thank you, and the clerk has already facilitated the proper notice for the Economic Development Committee meeting for next Tuesday. We'll continue on with committee reports to Mr. Diarretto.
No report.
Thank you, Mr. Diarretto. Mr. Dressel?
Nothing in the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Dressel. Mrs. On.
Okay, just had a few things. First of all, when we had the Laybell neighborhood meeting, and I want to be clear about something. What we're hoping to do is duplicate, if we can work on these strategies, duplicate them in other neighborhoods. So this is really just the beginning. It's not a sole focus. But we had 80 people come, and it was a very good, intense at times, good meeting. And I think for people to meet more of their neighbors and begin to build relationships and talk about concerns and see how many people have concerns in common was very, very helpful. And I really appreciated the city manager being there, and Eric and Mike, who represents 2 different parts of Lake Isle. So we're following up with a meeting with landlords, and probably it will have to be moved because Mr. Petrossi is not available the date we thought. So we're hoping for Thursday, the 28th, and that will involve anybody who is a landlord on Lake Isle. And again, just wanting to really be able to hear the concerns and being able to share the city's perspective. We had 26 at the marina, so that was really good. And what the city workers were able to get done before we even got there was amazing. So thank you to the fire department. I don't even know all the departments that were involved. Certainly Bob Baird did a lot of weed killing, and we have a lot of work still to do. 26 of us worked for almost 5 hours, and I really appreciate all the effort, and hopefully continue that. And also the JB Green team provided gloves and bags and vests, and that was terrific. And then tomorrow, if any of you are available at 11:30 over at the Visitors Center at the Ford area, there's going to be the next video on downtown revitalization by Roger Brooks. And so some of us are going to a Heritage Ohio event in Worcester. I will be there. But I would encourage you, if you're free, to come over at 11:30. It's about an hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Owen. We'll continue on with committee reports to Mr. Johnson.
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the mayor's recommendation to reappoint Mike Barber to the Planning and Zoning Commission for the term that will expire in 2022.
Second.
It's been regularly moved and seconded that Mr. Mike Barber be reappointed to the Planning and Zoning Commission, term to expire 2022. Roll call.
Mr. Timmons?
Aye.
Mr. Villamagna?
Aye.
Mr. DiLoretto?
Aye.
Mr. Dressel?
Aye.
Mrs. Hawn?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Paul?
Aye.
So moved, motion carried.
I'd like to make another motion to approve the mayor's recommendation to reappoint Maddie Patterson to the Fair Housing and Practices Board for the term that will expire in 2022.
Second.
For some reason.
What's that? The term's wrong.
I think the expiration date's wrong, but we'll correct that. Sorry about that. It's been regularly moved and seconded that Maddie Patterson reappointed to the Fair Housing Practice Board, term to expire 2022. Roll call.
Mr. Timmons?
Aye.
Mr. Villamagna?
Aye.
Mr. DiLoretto?
Aye.
Mr. Dressel?
Aye.
Mrs. Hawn?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Paul?
Aye.
So moved, motion carried.
And I have one more motion to approve the mayor's recommendation to approve the following persons to the Historic Landmark Commission: Alan Hall, term expiring 2020; Tony Cabela, term expiring 2020.
It's been regularly moved and seconded that Mr. Alan Hall be reappointed to the Historic Landmarks Commission, and Tony Correll be reappointed to the Historic Landmarks Commission, term to expire 2020. Roll call.
Mr. Timmons?
Aye.
Mr. Villamagna?
Aye.
Mr. DiLoretto?
Aye.
Mr. Dressel?
Aye.
Mrs. Hawn?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Paul?
Aye.
So moved, motion carried. Once again, I would like to thank the members of council for their approving the recommendations from my office. Anything further, Mr. Johnson?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Paul?
Yes, Your Honor. I have a couple items. First of all, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the mayor's appointment to the Parks and Recreation Board, Mrs. Vicki Nerzik.
Second.
It's been really moved and seconded that Vicki Nerzik be reappointed to the Parks and Recreation Board, term to expire 2022. Roll call.
Mr. Timmons?
Aye.
Mr. Villamagna?
Aye.
Mr. DiLoretto?
Aye.
Mr. Dressel?
Aye.
Mrs. Hawn?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Paul?
Aye.
So moved, motion carried. Once again, I'd like to thank the members of council.
Yes, Your Honor. Also, I'd like to make a motion that we enter into executive session after tonight's meeting to discuss police personnel.
Second.
Thank
It's
you.
been really moved to second that following public forum, we move into executive session for the purposes of discussing personnel, police department. Roll call.
Mr. Timmons?
Aye.
Mr. Villamagna?
Aye.
Mr. Fioretto?
Aye.
Mr. Dressel?
Aye.
Mrs. Han?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Paul?
Aye.
So moved, motion carried. We will move into executive session following public forum. Mr. Paul.
Okay, yes, there's one more item. Last week, Bishop Moore came up to us and asked, was telling us that him and Mr. Prentice, Charles Prentice, have a truck from Fran showing going down to Houston. In the meantime, I ran into him at M&M Hardware the other day, and I told him I was interested in getting some water to go down. He said he already had one truck filled up, maybe he can update us. But I did find out what a skid of water would cost. I went to Kroger's and I talked to Jimmy Mack Wilson, good man. He's the assistant manager or manager over at Kroger's. And I was talking with him. So if someone would like to, if you want to know the price, I'll tell you in public. If you want to just pull me aside and tell me. But we can split one, we can get our own, but I'll let you know what the price of a skid of water. It's 24 packs on a skid. And I think I'm going to let Bishop Moore talk more. When we talked, what day was that? Thursday, I think. You had one truckload, you were having a hard time getting another truckload, so you want, yes, sir? I'm asking you to come up and help me. That's why I pointed at you.
First of all, thank everybody that has already helped out with all the water. We filled up one truck within 24 to 48 hours. It was already overfilled. But we have so much more water that we've received, and we're still receiving water. Until now, we're at a point where we probably filled 2 more tractor trailers full of water. A lot of you have seen the disaster that's getting ready to embark upon the state of Florida with the hurricane that's now Category 5. By the time it hits Florida coast, Miami, it'll be a Category 4. They're comparing it to Andrew. It's going to be a big problem down in Florida. And so if anyone can help us out with a truck or trucks that we can get the water down to Houston as well as down in Florida, because it's going to be a problem, we really appreciate that. We have water, we're still receiving water, we have a lot of water. When the news press went out, on Channel 9 News, and went all the way down to Wheeling, there's pallets upon pallets of water that's in Wheeling. We're going down to Wheeling tomorrow to meet with also some more donors that are going to make some big contributions to this, but we just need trucks. So if any one of you know of a trucking company that will volunteer, that will assist with this, let us know. We greatly appreciate it.
Bishop, you already had trucks donated by Braley and Schilling, is that correct?
They did one truck initially. The initial conversation was about 2 trucks. We don't know what happened with the second truck, but the second truck is, I don't know, it's still up in limbo, but we definitely have one truck.
We definitely have one truck.
Yes, sir.
Does it have to be a box truck?
Anything that's able to get a bunch of water down to Texas and Florida, we hope. We got a lot of water.
Does Bob have your card?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. No, I'm done, Your Honor. Thank you, Bishop Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. That will conclude the report of committees from the members' council. Before we move into the report of the administrative officers, our city manager, I would like to once again thank the members of council. I know our law director passed out a language that's going to appear on the November ballot for our 5 mil operating renewal levy. I am still waiting on recommendations from members of council, who I know is unanimously supporting the renewal of the levy, for some names to serve on a committee. I did receive notice from the Board of Elections today about the designation of a treasurer. So we're going to need to work on this. It should be a primary and important focus until November, until the election. So if the members of council within the next week, or at least next Tuesday, get back to me with some recommendations of individuals from your board that would be willing to serve on the renewal committee. Then we'll have a meeting and designate a treasurer, a chairman, and the committee that fell out with the Board of Elections. I also would like to thank the city departments, basically the M&R department and the fire department for the outstanding job that they did in preparing the Steubenville Marina for the Day of Caring, the Day of Actions with the United Way. I would like to thank the volunteers through the United Way that helped out, and of course Mrs. Pond for coordinating that day of activities while I was running around a little crazy that day. But job well done. It's looking great. Let's just hope it could stay that way here in the future. We do have 2 events that is being planned. The Carpelottis is once again having their boat ride down there. And I saw Rita, and I was talking to them and indicated how nice the marina looks. One of the Carpelottis went down and was very impressed with the looks of the marina. So that's a great reflection on the city of Steubenville. With that, we will now move on to our city manager for a report. Mr. Mathematics.
Nothing, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mathematics. And we'll move on to our law director.
Just briefly, Mr. Mayor, just for informational purposes, I did pass out the sample ballot language for our 5-mil renewal. That is the language that we have used consistently every time it was renewed. I did show it to our finance director. I've reviewed it. That's going to be the language on the ballot, and the mayor gave his comment regarding the committee. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Marcos. And let me point out that if you notice by that notice that he passed out, the sample notice, it's issue number 5. So what's going to be important in November at the general election is a yes vote on issue 5. With that, that will conclude the administrative officer's report. One signing in under the miscellaneous reports, Mr. Driscoll.
Okay. 2 quick things. One is just to mention the Steubenville Popcorn Company is still building and hoping for an opening date soon. And the other thing is, if you haven't been over to the fort, they have a display about the Bill of Rights this week and next, and the Constitution in full, especially the Bill of Rights this year. If you haven't read it, you should go over and take a look. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dressel. That will conclude the miscellaneous reports. We will now move into public forum. Is there anyone wishing to speak to City Council on city business? Please come forward, state their name and address.
Joseph Summerall, 112 Starkdale Road, Steubenville. A couple meetings ago, I spoke about landlords. I'd like to be called, instead of a landlord, a property owner. I think landlords are taking a bad rap in this town. As Mr. Carlantonio spoke about it too. And I brought up an issue about something that was put in a few years back by council about the property owner should be responsible for the use of the water when a person comes into the apartment, uses, and yet they hold the landlord, or whatever you want to call it, property owner, responsible. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's got common sense. I think I was told that there's some, I think, either Mr. Masters, what he said about a state thing, a state of Ohio law. Can I get a copy of the statute?
Yes, sir.
Okay, of the statute from the state?
Sure.
Okay. But I still don't think it's right that someone could use the water, put a deposit, use the water, and then the person that owns the property got to pay for it. Most of the people I talk to don't think that's right. And I've been coming here 8 years. I own only 2 pieces of property now. I had 20, and I had that one for 48 years. I just incurred the expense. I paid it under protest. The only thing I'm saying is, we had many years that I came here and listened to past water bills not being paid. They took money from the people that didn't pay, and I guess our auditors had said at one time we had to clear that up, and they all them past water bills were supposed to be paid by council back then. What the dates are, I don't know, and the mayor corrected me last meeting about the, when I had September 15th, when I brought up that was the changes to the water policy. I'm asking as a citizen and a property owner that this council revisits that. I know it's hard to do, but if there's any way that there could be relief, because I still think the landlords or property owners are not getting a fair shake when it comes to that. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cimarron. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to City Council on city business? Please come forward, state your name and address.
Yeah, my name is Woodrow Thomas, and I stay at 1302 Pennsylvania. The question I'm going to ask City Council, y'all might ask me to keep going further, but how does Hamlin get to take somebody's ID and hold it 5 days? If I'm right or wrong, when you walk out to the door, you're supposed to have your ID, so if anybody stops you, law official, you can present it to them. I don't have my ID. Now, if y'all want me to go further into it, they raided my house, thinking they finna find a big dope bag. Now, hold that thought. When I first got here, Judge Spence, whatever his name, he's cool with me. He said 2 things Detroit people come here for: selling dope or killing somebody. So that put me in the mind of racial profile, because that's racial profile. Okay, how come Abdullah got my ID 5 days?
Okay, Mr. Thomas, let me maybe help you out here to clear up. You had mentioned Jane. I'm thinking you're talking about our county prosecutor, Jane Hamlin, and Abdallah would be the sheriff, Fred Abdallah. This is Steubenville city government. You're talking and referring to county officials. This is really the wrong setting. We have no control over Jane Hamlin or Fred Abdallah.
Okay, let me ask you one question. Where can you recommend I go to? Because like this, every day I walk out my house, right now, I'm in violation of the law without no ID.
Okay.
Y'all know who I am.
Well, our law director may be able to handle, but unless you talk to the prosecutor's office or to the sheriff's office.
I already talked to the prosecutor.
Well, we don't have jurisdiction over any authority over those individuals.
Okay, y'all don't have communications with the sheriff department and?
Absolutely, we have communications.
Okay then, so can you give me some type of direction I can follow?
Well, maybe our law director could maybe make a recommendation other than talking to the sheriff or to the prosecutor.
And another thing, Mr. Thomas, let me just ask this question. Were you arrested and put in jail?
Yes.
Okay, and are you saying that the jail still has your identification?
No, the jail, listen, the jail didn't have.
I think I know. The arresting officer has your ID?
Yes.
Okay.
Which was Hamlin.
All right, what I'd like you to do, I think will help you, is meet with the chief right now and go outside, and he'll direct you where you get. But I think
I think I talked to him.
No, this is our chief of police. Yeah, but Mr., if you go right now and tell him exactly what happened, I think he can give you the direction where you need to go.
Okay.
Okay? If he can't, then you come to me.
Yeah, but I'm just.
And then we'll get it worked out for you.
I've been here 11 going on 12 years. I work on cars and stuff. What reason they have to run up in my house?
Well, I'm sure the chief can answer that for you, Mr. Thomas.
I wouldn't know the people that are accusing me, whatever.
Well,
listen, I'm a pole, if I'm a dope man, I'm a dope man.
Okay. All right. Chief, help him out.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to city council on city business? Please come forward, state their name and address.
My name is Anna Sweeney. I live at 710 Armitage Street. And I just want to commend our fire department and all the other fire department that was out there Saturday night, putting out the blaze on Ford, and the one up on Spencer, and then the other one out there on Sinclair. The one on Ford was in my backyard. And I am freaking over it because I have a house 2 doors down from me, which I understand now is being taken care of by the land bank. But if that went up, we would lose 4 families, just that quick. But I really want to commend the officers and the fire department and everybody. They were quick on the job, and I saw a video of that fire, and it was unimaginable. Thank God it was empty, but we need to do something about this arsonist. That's the only way I can look at it. 3 in 24 hours. Somebody's out there playing with lives. And we need to all be vigilant and watch. And if you see something, say something. Because nobody's going to rest easy until this is taken care of. There's too many empty houses in town. Too many vagrants. Too many places that people, especially with the weather coming in, getting colder, there's too many places. People are going to have to go in for shelter, and all of us leave with a candle or a cigarette or whatever. We're going to have more of the same. So I really commend the fire department for doing their job, and the police for being watchful eye over us, but we as citizens have to stand up and help them too. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to City Council on city business? Please go forward and state their name and address.
My name is Mark Nelson, live 272 County Road 26. Speaking as a citizen this evening, trying to bring up a couple of things. One of them is about the medical marijuana. It got brought up earlier. If I was in your guys' shoes, I'd send a letter to the legislature telling them they ought to put it in the pharmacy and put the burden back on state legislators and have the stuff dispensed through pharmacies. And it's not an extra issue for any smaller communities across the state. As far as welcoming business here, there are times that we, as communities, do limit legal businesses. A perfect example is the incinerator up the river. The community there is not happy. I wouldn't be happy if they were going to put one here in our community, but it would be a legal business. So it's pumping poison into the air. And I think the concern of many citizens is that this is another type of way to put pumping poison into people's bodies. Even sometimes, though it is helpful, put the burden back on the state, feed it through the pharmacies. Did you say, Mike, that it has to be limited where it is placed, like away from churches and things like that?
500, it cannot be within 500 feet of a church, a school, a public park. I think that's it.
In which case, I again just raise the question, if it's so good, why does it have to be limited to where it's being placed?
Similar to a bar. It's just like a bar. You can't have a bar by a school or a church or.
Let Mr. Nelson finish.
Just raising the question. The bigger issue, I guess, this evening that I wanted to speak on, which I had no intent on, I really don't want to darken the doors of the chamber here speaking any more than I do, unfortunately, is having to do with the fires over the weekend. I was our family was the victim of one of the arsons. I'm sure some of you guys know that by now. That's the major issue, the major crime. I make no means to circumvent that problem. As Mrs. Sweeney said, there is an arsonist in the community that I pray to God he gets arrested soon before more homes, more buildings are burnt down. The arson that occurred on Spencer at the home that we owned brought to light a problem that you guys discussed earlier in the safety meeting, having to do with the 5 fire hydrants that did not work when the fire department showed up. Because of that, again, it was my family that this occurred to. You guys put yourselves in my shoes. Thank God there was no life loss or anyone injured, but there was property loss. A perfectly good house sitting at the end of the street that we had not yet begun to work on, that we had landscaped, we cleaned up, we taken it over from a lady that was moving on. It was not an abandoned house. The taxes were not behind on it. It was a vacant home, no different than many of our parents when they go to Florida. Their homes become temporarily vacant for a few months. The 5 fire hydrants that were closest did not work, as Mr. Murphy said, there's one right across the street from the house, 10 feet off the front door. There's another one 50 feet away. There's another one 200 feet away. There's another one down the hill, and there's a fifth one at the bottom in front of Steubenville Lake Glass. When I arrived at about 4:30 that morning, there were 4 different departments with their trucks strung and piggybacked all the way up that road. Every 400 feet, they parked a truck, attempting to pump water from the Steubenville Plate location all the way up that hill to then extinguish what was left of the burning home. And you guys can pull transcripts if they exist. They're with the fire department. I was listening to the radio standing next to the first most truck, which I believe was a Mingo truck. And the guys at the bottom of the hill said there's no water coming out. They can't even fill their own truck. I'm not making it up. I was standing next to the chief's own captain. I don't know, I forget his name at this point. He was there. It was his birthday. He was supposed to be off. He came in and he worked very hard. All of the men worked hard. This had nothing to do with the quality of service that the fire department delivered that evening. They showed up to the fight, but there was no ammunition to fight with. They also stated that there is not enough water on the local trucks to deal with these. The county trucks do carry more water, the tanker trucks. But by the time Mingo realized there was no water, and Wintersville realized no water, and Hillendale was already there, the tanker truck was back in the garage. It was an hour later, and it was time to go home. Thank God there were no homes there. There are 7 or 8 homes up there. I still own 2 of the homes up there. It's within hundreds of feet of my own business. I saw Mr. Madison mention that on Sunday afternoon, actually, and I think the guys were out checking on Sunday or Monday, actually. Some family members saw the firemen checking the fire hydrants along Lincoln. I just want to point out that we as business owners are required by the state of Ohio, or at least by the local fire department, I think, to have the fire extinguishers, which hang in the corners of all the rooms, be red tagged or be tagged every year with an annual inspection. I think it's a yearly requirement. I think that everybody has an Ansel system in a restaurant, has to have that checked once a year. I think everybody has a sprinkler in their building, has to have that checked once a year. So we have the best fire extinguishers, the best sprinkler system, the best Ansel systems, and the fire hydrant outside the street might not work because we heard tonight, there's not a requirement within the city that the staff is checked. I don't know whose responsibility it is, but you heard it, that there is not being checked. So because of that, I petitioned the city. I put together a letter from Mr. Masters. I emailed it earlier. Thank you. I have not heard back to see whether or not he received it, but it's basically an Open Records Act in the state of, using the state law that they give to citizens to put in for information against local municipalities or any public office really, or subdivision of the state of Ohio, to gain access to public records to try to determine some of what's going on within local government of whatever type. We use it against the county, the city, Jefferson County Soil and Water District, any subdivision in the state of Ohio. It's subject to Ohio Open Records Act. You can do that with. And that I asked for requests of when they've been tested. And again, it's not for me. My house is gone. That house is gone. It's anyone else's home. Emails is lives. The number one purpose of government, or I think it's the number one, or one of the major ones, is obviously to protect the lives and property of the citizens. And I just hope that this experience, because no lives were lost, hopefully will save a life down the road. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to City Council on city business? Please come forward, state your name and address.
Other places in the country and saying, yeah, I'm from Steubenville, and they're like, oh, well, you have a lot of problems. I like going to places and hearing people say, wow, you have a great community. That sounds like an awesome place to live. I want to bring my family there. And I realize that marijuana is legal in the state, but just because, as Mr. Nelson said, there are other businesses that are illegal. 10 to 12 jobs is not a few blocks to the community. And perhaps we could encourage other businesses to open, or, for instance, help out businesses that are already trying to open that might be bringing business to the community that would be wholesome. We need jobs. Our economy is struggling here in Steubenville, but it's like a starving man, and if you're going to feed it and give it food poisoning, then there's no point in feeding. And we need to give it good food, and Steubenville needs good jobs, and Steubenville needs positive and good things. Steubenville has a very recent history of reactive legislation. We don't necessarily put things in place to prevent problems, we react to them. For instance, the fire hydrants. Had we gone ahead with some sort of system to make sure that those were working, we wouldn't have had the problems with the fires taking going to put out a little block to be from historic structures this evening. And I think that if we take a stance now and ask that medical marijuana not be allowed in Steubenville, we won't run into problems down the road where maybe someone finds out that medical marijuana is not such a great thing. It's not exactly scientifically proven. Has anyone here talked to medical professionals in the valley asking their opinions on having medical marijuana? Has anyone gone to hospitals? Has anyone gone to private doctors and asked them if this is okay? Is this something that they are interested in having in their community? Because if not, I'm going to go and I'm going to get a petition that Steubenville has legislation against medical marijuana in the county. Until it can be scientifically proven that this is something that is going to benefit everyone and not just sort of sometimes. We have other medical procedures and drugs that can help people with many of the problems that marijuana also helps with. It's a universal drug. And we already have a drug problem. We don't need to encourage that by doing nothing. On another note, as a preservationist, we look forward to preserving some of Steubenville's history. That includes all of the beautiful structures that we have here, whether they're in the historic district or not. As the house that burned down, unfortunately, on 4th Street was part of the historic district, but also the house that our family owned has a lot of historic significance. It was like in the Deer Hunter movie, and it's one of the oldest houses in Steubenville. Some of the other beautiful old structures in Steubenville are slated for demolition, and the young preservationists don't want to see those houses go, especially if they can be saved and that they're not completely public nuisances. So we would like to propose a project that we're willing to take on, realizing that Steubenville city government doesn't necessarily have all of the capacity to do this, but other cities are doing it, and I think that it's in Steubenville's best interest to pursue this plan. So that said, I would present my plan and then have it fully, but I have some questions right now for whoever has them. I have Mr. Crosby left. Some of these questions are specifically at him. But last week, I believe Mr. Filaretti mentioned that there was like approximately 55 structures that are slated for demolition in the future.
Yes.
Does someone have a list of those structures?
You may have a list of them. Are you finished? Go ahead.
Mr. Gilbert, let her finish, please.
Okay. All right. So if the preservationists could have that list of buildings, we're very interested in that. But I'd like to know how that list was compiled and who has been going around determining what buildings need to be demolished or condemned.
I would suggest that you make an appointment with Mr. Petrozzi. We could provide you the list, and all council has that, but he could go through the documentation he has on the structures and the conditions that they're in, and why it was determined to be an unsafe structure.
All right. All right, thank you. So basically what other cities are doing that I've seen is instead of using funds to demolish these buildings, they are taking those funds and they are using them for rehabilitation purposes. I know that there are quite a few structures that have been slated for demolition that have passed city council, that have passed the historic landmarks commission, that are not structurally in danger of falling down on someone, and they don't need to be demolished. Someone just needs to fix them up. And I believe we're using community development funds to tear these buildings down. I think that money could be used better to fix these buildings up. The college building, the original Steubenville College building, was slated for demolition. The Landmarks Commission passed it. We are now in possession of that building, working to restore it and keep that piece of history in Steubenville. So I would like to do the same thing with a lot of the other buildings in Steubenville. What I've seen other communities do is before a building can be demolished, a form has to be sent through for possible historic significance. The building does not have to be in a historic district. It does not have to have any sort of historic plaque on it or be in the register. But any building owner or the city has to fill this form out, and on the first page you have to specify the year this building was built. If the building is over 50 years old, it has to go before another commission that determines the historic significance. And the owner of the building, or whoever's putting it through for demolition, has to fill out 2 pages worth of information about the significance of it in a neighborhood, the significance in history, or events like being in a movie, or famous people having lived there. And a further commission, and that might be the job of the Landmarks Commission. And this is obviously going to be a big project that involves the land bank and the port authority, but it's something I think Steubenville really needs to look into. And I'd be willing, along with the other preservations, to do the research on this list of buildings that you've given me, to see about saving them and to find people who'd be willing to purchase them for a fee and start.
Well, let me just explain to you that most of those homes on that list are privately owned. They might be in foreclosure, but the city of Steubenville does not have ownership of those properties and don't have the flexibility of cutting deals for X amount of dollars.
But Steubenville has the right to tear those buildings down.
Okay, now, you have occupied us with some good thoughts this evening. There is a planning committee, and a lot of this falls under the planning committee scheduled in two Tuesdays from now? The 19th. I would suggest that you attend that planning committee. Speak to the chairman, Mr. Johnson, and maybe he could even have some time on the agenda for the committee meeting to express those concerns.
Well, part of what we're going to talk about the 19th is what Columbus, Ohio is doing, what Detroit's doing, everything Detroit, vacant lot next to a homeowner, that homeowner can purchase it for $150. Columbus has a program where a 50% program, a 100% program. If you put down 50% of value into a home under the 50% program, you can become the owner of that home. That's what I want to try to get us to, but to do that, we got to get help from the land bank. Columbus runs all theirs through the land bank. We're going to start the land bank conversation next Tuesday in Mr. Villamagna's Economic Development Committee, and we're going to continue it the following Tuesday on the 19th to come up with a plan. Because right now we're knocking houses down, and there's no plan to repurpose the land. To the extent some of these houses could be saved, I mean, I think the city would be all for it. The money we're knocking down, though, the ordinance we passed last week, that was using community development grant money. But the other money that we're using is sanitation funds, and that money can only be used for sanitation, which belongs in the house, qualifies. But taking that money to get somebody to improve that house doesn't qualify. So we couldn't use that money for that purpose. But I'm more than willing to listen to any ideas you have. I mean, I want to try to come up with a plan, and we're starting that conversation next week.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to city council on city business? Please come forward, state their name and address.
Tony Bertolini, 7th County Council, Steubenville. I work for the police department for 20 years, and I was a DARE officer for 18. Some of the members here in council, here when I started that project, so I was there when I started my part. I think you're treading on thin ice, but you've heard both sides, either of the group and from members here in council chambers tonight. Think hard on the prospect of these 5 to 15 jobs that you're looking at. I understand you're looking for business. I understand we're looking for income. But the people in this community who look at city council as hypocrites. We're paying an officer to educate our kids on the consequences of using and not using alcohol, tobacco, and legal and illegal drugs. And if you think these legal marijuana products are not going to come out of some grandparents' medicine cabinet and end up on the street, just like Percocets, Oxycontins, and others, please think on your decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to city council on city business? Please go forward, state your name and address. We will move on.
Can I say something?
Mr. Diarra.
Mark, I don't want to get in the argument with you, take the load of you. But I was up there on Spencer Avenue last week, I'm up there every so often. And that house burned down, probably could never be replenished, I don't know. But I got more houses in my ward, and more complaints from parents that live next to them, with drunks, rats, beargans, cutting grass. They all, I don't mention his name, cuts more grass than the city does on these empty lots. If these lots want to be sold, fine, they can be sold. But take care of them, put people in them, cut the grass, and get good people in them. I have night riders. They come in at 6 o'clock at night and leave at 6 o'clock in the morning. Leave all the garbage and trash and ask me and Mr. Mayor Madison to pick it up. Plus their water bill they leave. We didn't know who they are. My neighbors. If you want to buy any property, a rec mayor, they have 3 sales. The sheriff's sale, the auditor's sale, and the treasurer's sale. All these properties Been out there, I think there's some company, they gave him a phone number, buy this property, you buy it, just take care of it and make it a livable place. Because you're poor, doesn't mean you can't get clean. Thank you.
Mr. De La Retta, are you addressing me in that way?
No.
Oh, I'd like him to clarify how I am involved in any of
You
that.
know what, you just mentioned your house, because they got burned down. That's all, you mentioned the house.
And the grass was mowed and it was taken care of.
No grass up there.
Okay, at this point in time, Mr. Bill Mayor,
Yeah.
because we're going to move into.
A couple things to clarify, and there's nothing derogatory toward you, nothing against Tony or anybody in the audience. But the houses that we're talking about is realistically, that house on North 4th Street has been vacant for 15 years. Worthless. Does it have historical value? It did at one time. To remodel it would have cost a fortune. The last time that house was occupied on Spencer Mark was how long?
4 years ago.
4 years ago. They're attractive nuisances. Now, we're saying it was an arsonist. I got a different idea of what happened there. You got homeless people, you got drug addicts go in there with spoons, and I'm not saying it happened, but there's two sides. It's an attractive nuisance. People go in there, they do their dope, they fall asleep, they light a candle. Imperial Hotel with the fire department, they lit a fire up on the top floor to keep warm and caught the place on fire. There's hundreds of homes in this town. We started out in this town with 38,000 people. There's 17,000. When they left, they didn't take their house with them. They left those houses here. Those houses are in rundown condition. You cannot own 16, 20 properties in the city and take care of all those properties. Now, did you cut the grass and everything? Yes. And it's an unfortunate thing. I'm not saying the house should have been burnt down. The house was not occupied, and it wasn't going to be occupied in the near future. And that house on North 4th Street, there's no way that even a homeless person would go in there. So when we say homes in Warner, Florida, like your mother and father does, it's a complete different story.
I disagree, Mr. Mayor.
Well, that's my opinion. You had yours, and I got mine. This historical thing. There's a project going on in Canton, Ohio, next to the Hall of Fame. $800 million job being held up by one house because the person wants an astronomical amount of money because the city never took it. Now, we talked about economic development. We talked about economic development. We talked about preserving houses. We talked about all this together. We can't have our cake and eat it too. When I go to the Port Authority meeting, shovel-ready jobs, we need property. Steubenville has zero to offer anybody in property development. No, we got buildings after buildings downtown that people own. Nobody in, no realtor signs on them. One realtor sign on one building down there, and it's sold. We can't have it both ways. It's impossible to have houses 3, 4 years, 15 years, 20 years. Those houses on Lincoln Avenue, I've been walking past since I was a child. They're vacant, they're ruined, they gotta come down. The time has come where either we're gonna decide whether we wanna restore historical property, and then we need people who are gonna do it. Money, lots of money. You can't own 16, 20 properties unless you're a billionaire and just want to spend money doing all this stuff. There's people that own 60 properties here. It can't be done. Now, we have to make up our mind as a council whether we're going to be economic developers or we're going to be historians. I sat over here at the fort watching these videos. Great videos. They show me Seattle, they show me this town, they show me that town, they show me little towns, big towns, all beautiful downtown areas. Gorgeous, they're beautiful. The old gotta go, the new has to come in. We got Don, what's our plan? Comprehensive plan. We got the comprehensive plan. We paid $75,000 for that plan. It's beautiful. And I hope, not in my lifetime, because it ain't gonna happen in my lifetime. Maybe those kids right there's lifetime. Those things are gorgeous, and I want them. I want all the same things you want. I want a restaurant, I want a hotel. Where are we going to build a hotel at down there? unless we take some of this property out of here that's vacant, windows out of it, and preserve it? Seriously? That's all I gotta say about that, that's my opinion. Because those weren't homes. They were houses that were unoccupied, they were not homes. Homes is where we all live at. The medical marijuana thing, it's legal, it's gonna be prescribed. Everything known to mankind is abused. I don't care. You can't name one thing that's not abused by a human being. It's a shame, it's the way it is. Do we want to be known as the council who brought medical marijuana in because kids are going to be affected by it and all this? Okay, that's one side. How about this side? How about somebody's mother or grandmother who's dying and has cancer or has multiple sclerosis? And she's 90 years old and she got about an hour, a year, 2 years to live. Will that marijuana help her? And I go like this, but it's not smoking marijuana. Nobody's going to be smoking marijuana. This is pill form. And if I can help that one woman, that's what I want to be known as. Am I right? I don't know. But nobody out here is God, and I ain't either. With this council, I say it all the time, got 7 people up here from all walks of life trying to do the best that we can. You guys want to preserve stuff? Let's get some money and go restore these houses. Let's go by the codes. Let's not make up our own rules and do what we want to do. I'm tired. I take time out of this. I'm devoted to this city. I've been here all my life. I didn't just get here. I've been here. I struggled through this whole thing. I participate in everything. And the rhetoric is, we got to do this and everything's beautiful. Everything ain't beautiful. We need money. That's what takes it. There's people willing to give money to do things. That's the people you need. Now, I can debate it all day long, but I think I had enough time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And let me assure everyone that the philosophy, the approach that City Council is taking on a variety of subjects continue to be discussed and talked about. Again, next Tuesday, the Economic Development Committee will be meeting. Sit in the audience, partly listen, because you'll feel and see what council is thinking, what direction, and then we're going to follow it up also on September 19th at a planning committee meeting about the updated structures and zoning codes and everything. So we'll continue to have this conversation, and I'm sure it will be a lively conversation. But at this time, we have called for a public forum. We did make a motion to move in executive session. I'll ask that the council chambers be cleared and we're moving into executive session.